All right, so get ready. Today, we are going deep into the world of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, we are diving into an interview with Bozoma Saint John. She really brought a whole new energy to the show.
Yeah, she did.
But you know what? This is more than just, reality TV drama.
Right.
When Bozoma reflects on her first season, she touches on some really important stuff, like friendship, vulnerability, and how we all handle those tricky social
Right.
situations.
I think what's so interesting about Bozoma's experience is that even though it's on this huge public stage, the stuff she's going through is so relatable, you know?
Exactly.
Like, haven't we all been the new person in a group or had to figure out how close is too close with a friend or felt that pressure to choose sides when there's an argument?
Oh, for sure. And don't forget, this is Beverly Hills.
Right.
Things can get kind of wild.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking a missing plate of cookies, accusations of being used, and even the emotional fallout from a house fire. Bozoma's first season was a wild ride.
Yeah, it really was. So let's start with the beginning when Bozoma was just figuring out this whole new group.
Okay.
She and Dorit, another housewife, hit it off right away.
Ugh.
And you know what? Their fast friendship actually got some of the other women talking.
It's like there's this secret rule book in these longtime groups, especially like the Real Housewives,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
about how relationships should play out.
Totally.
Bozoma even said something about facing down an oncoming train when you're giving advice or support early on.
Oh, wow.
So how fast is too fast? When do you overstep?
Right. That is such an interesting question. Like, we all want to support our friends.
Yes.
But you also got to be aware of what's already going on in the group, right?
Absolutely.
Jumping in too quickly can really upset the balance.
Yeah,
Especially if you don't really know the history.
totally.
Yeah.
And then you've got that whole cookie thing with Kyle Richards. She's like the OG housewife. Bozoma was really open about how Kyle wasn't super welcoming. She said it in her funny way, of course, but I think it's something we can all relate to. We all go into new places with certain expectations, and when those aren't met, ouch.
Oh, I know. It's like that basic need to feel welcomed and accepted, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're joining a group that's already so close. You want to feel like you belong. And sometimes even a small thing, like a, welcoming gesture can make a world of difference.
So true. And sometimes you try to connect and support, but things get twisted.
Fully.
Like that whole thing with the photo of Kyle's husband, Mauricio, remember? Bozoma's first instinct was to stick up for Kyle, even though they had their own issues.
Right. Shows how strong loyalty is. It can be stronger than your own disagreements, especially in a group.
Yeah.
It's like you're expected to stick by your tribe, even if you're, like, fighting internally,
Yeah.
Maybe not always the healthiest thing, but
Yeah.
it's interesting how that group dynamic works.
It is. And then there was that whole text thing when Garcelle, another housewife, told Bozoma about this sensitive text message. And then that led to Bozoma confronting Dorit. It felt like Bozoma got pulled into something that wasn't really her problem.
That happens all the time in friendships.
I know, for sure.
That pressure to, like, choose sides and smooth things over when maybe you just want to stay out of it. It's hard to navigate these situations, especially with big personalities and, hurt feelings.
Another thing that Bozoma was super open about was her experience with trying to have a baby. She talked about wanting to expand her family and facing judgment, especially because of her age.
Yeah, and it was heartbreaking. It shows how much stigma is still attached to women's reproductive health,
Oh, totally.
It's like this taboo subject for so many. And the pressure to keep quiet about any struggles is just so strong.
Mhm.
For Bozoma to share her story so honestly, I mean, that took real courage.
It did. And it's a good reminder that behind all the fancy stuff, these are real people
Oh, yeah.
with real feelings and challenges.
For sure. And by speaking out and not letting herself be shamed, she's not only helping herself, but also helping other women feel less alone.
Exactly. And then on top of everything else, she had that terrible house fire. I mean, losing your home is such a huge loss in so many ways.
Yeah. It's not just stuff, right?
Right.
It's the feeling of safety, the security, the memories that were made there.
Totally. And for Bozoma, it was even more than that. She built her house from scratch. It was a symbol of her hard work and everything she'd accomplished.
Right. That sense of pride in creating a home is so powerful. To
Yeah.
see it literally go up in flames, I mean, it's just devastating.
It is. And then to make matters worse, she had to deal with all the aftermath, the debris, insurance, and then mudslides right into the ashes of her home.
It's like life just kept throwing these curveballs at her,
Yeah.
And the way she responded, the resilience she showed, that's what really matters.
Absolutely. It's amazing how strong she's been through all of it. She's honest about the emotional ups and downs, but she's still determined to rebuild and find joy.
It's really inspiring. It's like that human spirit, you know, finding that strength and hope, even when going through something so awful.
Absolutely. And it goes back to that whole oncoming train thing she talked about. It's like she jumped onto this crazy ride called Real Housewives, not knowing what to expect, but she went all in. The highs, the lows, the friendships, the fights.
Yeah, the good and the bad.
And through it all, she stayed true to herself. She challenged the rules. And she showed her vulnerability even when it made her a target.
There's something really brave about that,
Mhm.
to be yourself no matter what people think, especially in a world like reality TV where everyone's trying to fit a certain image.
So true. It really makes you think about the masks we all wear sometimes
Yeah.
and how much courage it takes to let them drop. Especially now with social media where everything feels so filtered and perfect. It's refreshing to see someone be so real, even if it's messy.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that real life isn't always perfect.
No.
And it's okay. It's in those imperfections, those moments when we're vulnerable, that we connect with each other in a real way. And that's where we grow.
Totally. I think that's what makes Bozoma's story so captivating. It's not some fairy tale, it's real life with its ups and downs, laughter and tears, and a whole lot of heart. And whether you like reality TV or not, there's something really relatable and inspiring about her willingness to embrace it all.
I agree. It's inspiring. It really makes you think
Mhm.
about what we bring to our own relationships and the spaces we create for other people.
Yeah, totally. And thinking about everything with Bozoma, and that idea she mentioned about an open door policy, it makes me keep coming back to resilience. We talked about the criticism, the crazy social stuff, even the house fire. But through it all, she's so open and generous. It's amazing.
It is. It's not that she doesn't have a hard time. It's that she chooses to be kind and stay connected when it would be so easy to just like shut down.
That's so inspiring. So is that resilience like built in or can you learn it?
I don't know. Good question. It makes me think about all the times we've had to bounce back. What helps? Is it your friends? Changing how you see things? Or just like that part of you that refuses to quit?
Yeah.
Maybe it's all of that, but I think there's something about making a choice, choosing to stay open even when it's scary. Because if you close yourself off to protect yourself from getting hurt, you also miss out on all the good stuff.
The connections, the support. Yeah, I get it. So maybe resilience isn't just about bouncing back, but also about choosing to be open to what life throws at you, even when it's scary.
It's like that keypad lock Bozoma talked about,
Yeah.
that open door policy. It's like she's saying, I trust the good will win. Even if someone messes things up, the connection is worth it.
Yeah, I love that. So you can be vulnerable and strong at the same time.
Exactly. And actually, a lot of times when we feel most vulnerable, that's when we find our strength.
That's a good point. So as we keep talking about Bozoma, I think what we're learning is choose to be open, connect with people, be kind. And when things get tough, you can handle it. You'll come out stronger and even more open.
So true. Bozoma's story reminds us that those oncoming trains are going to come whether we're ready or not. And sometimes the best thing to do is just hang on and trust that even if we fall, we can get back up.
And maybe along the way, we learn a few things about ourselves and the world and just how powerful it is to connect with people. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Having people there for you through good times and bad times, celebrating the wins and helping when you stumble.
Exactly. And creating those spaces where you feel safe to be yourself,
Mm.
to share your struggles, share your joy, laugh, cry, and just be real without worrying about judgment.
Yeah. Bozoma talking about having a keypad lock on her house so everyone had the code.
Right.
I mean, that's so powerful, like a home where everyone's welcome, loved, cookies or no cookies.
It shows how generous she is. Like she wants people to feel seen, heard, and cared for.
Yeah, and it makes you think how we can all be more like that, more open and generous in our own lives.
That's what makes life better, right?
Yeah.
Those connections, those moments when we truly connect as humans.
So as you think about Bozoma, think about this. How can you be that light, that support for your people? How can you be the one who welcomes everyone, who shows up with those cookies, even if it's just listening or saying something kind?
Because even the smallest things can make a huge difference. Maybe you'll even inspire someone else to do the same. And then that kindness spreads even further.
What a great thought. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it gave you something to think about and maybe even inspired you to be a little bit more like Bozoma. Makes you think, like what kind of vibe do we bring to our relationships, the spaces we create for others?
Yeah. You know what I keep thinking about? It's that open door policy Bozoma talked about. We talk about all the stuff she went through, the criticism, the social drama, the fire, but she's still so open.
Right. It's not that bad stuff doesn't happen to her. It's that she still chooses to be kind. Even it would be easier to just like close off.
Yeah. So is that something you're born with, that resilience, or is it something you build up over time?
Ooh, that's a good question. It makes me think about all those times you got to pick yourself up, you know? Like,
Yeah.
what helps you do it? Is it friends? Is it seeing things differently? Or is it just like not giving up?
I think it's probably all of those things. But but maybe there's something about making a choice
Yeah.
to be open, even when it's scary.
Mm.
Because if you just shut everyone out to protect yourself, you're also missing out on all the good stuff.
Yeah, the connections, the support. You're right. So maybe resilience isn't just about bouncing back, it's about being open to whatever comes your way, even when it's scary.
It's like, remember that keypad lock she mentioned? That open door policy? It's like she's saying, I trust the good stuff will win. Even if things get messy, the connection is worth it.
I love that. So you can be vulnerable and strong.
Uh-huh. And actually, a lot of times when we feel most vulnerable, that's when we're the strongest.
Hmm. Good point. So thinking about Bozoma, I think we're learning to be open, connect with people, be kind, and when things get tough, well, we can get through it. You come out stronger, more open.
That's it.
Yeah.
And Bozoma's story reminds us that tough times are going to happen, ready or not. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just hang on and trust that even if you fall, you can get back up.
And maybe along the way, we learn some things about ourselves, the world, and how important it is to have those connections. Because that's what matters, right? People who are there for you through the good and the bad, celebrating the wins and helping you when you stumble.
Yeah. And having those spaces where you feel safe to just be yourself, to share your struggles, your joy, to laugh, cry, just be real without worrying what people think.
Bozoma talked about that keypad lock on her house so everyone had the code.
Right.
So powerful. Like a home where everyone's welcome and loved, cookies or no cookies.
It shows how generous she is. Like she wants everyone to feel seen, heard, and cared for.
It makes you think, how can we be more like that, more open, more generous in our own lives?
Because that's what makes life good, right? The connections, those real moments we share with each other.
So as you think about Bozoma, think about this. How can you be that light for other people? Be that welcoming presence, that person who shows up with the cookies, even if it's just listening or saying something kind.
Because sometimes those little things, they make a world of difference.
Right.
And you never know, you might even inspire someone else to do the same. And then that kindness just spreads.
What a great thought to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it gave you something to think about, maybe even inspired you to be a little bit more like Bozoma. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those cookies coming.